sometimes people have had wonderful things that would happen to them, and they want to share it with family, maybe friends, but family in this case. And you're like, dang, I can't share with them because they're going to be jealous. They're going to hate me. They already do.
Yes.
Like, how does a person reconcile being in that space?
It's this is something that comes up often with my clients, where there's like, I can't tell my wife that, I signed that new deal. I can't tell my family because then they'll want me to pay their rent.
Oh, you got money now?
I need a new car.
Yeah.
Why do we get jealous of other people? The reason we get jealous is actually an internal reason, and it is insecurity or fear. I know, I hate to admit it too, but it's true. When you have the feeling of jealousy come up, you can trace it back to either you're insecure about something within yourself, or you're afraid of something, afraid of you not being good enough, afraid of not being pretty enough, afraid of not having the same opportunities, insecure about how you are, how you look, how smart you are, how you show up, etc., etc., etc.
Scientists did extensive studies, and they discovered that speaking out loud positive affirmations about yourself for 21 days straight, speaking 3 to 6 times a day, speaking over your own life, in 21 days, your DNA begins to rewrite its own code. You can rewrite your own DNA. So journaling, writing down your affirmations, speaking your affirmations, that begins the process of changing the way that your body is expressing genes. You can turn genes off just through actual speaking of affirmations.
Welcome to Call for the Truth. I am LaOta of the Sun, and this is Tarvars of the Sun, and today we'll be talking about jealousy. Tarvars, before we begin, would you bring us into the Call for the Truth?
Well, certainly. And we invite you to join us in the Call for the Truth. Shall we call forth the frequency of truth? Shall we call to see the truth in all that we see? Shall we call to hear the truth in all that we hear? Shall we call to speak the truth, calling forth the courage to speak the truth? Should we call forth nothing less than the truth to come forward into our experience? And we are here talking about the truth of jealousy.
Yes.
But, really, like, how do we deal with this? It is ever pervasive. It is something that we experience on both sides, whether you're the one giving it, whether you're the one receiving it. And I'd like us to explore the dynamic, because usually people are speaking about being on the receiving end, and I also would like to know, like, what does that look like when we're giving it out? What's happening as well?
I can remember a situation where I was listening to someone who I valued and had held in great respect speak about someone else that they held in great respect, and I can remember feeling like I'd like to be that person they referred to with reverence and respect. I think that's baby jealousy. It wasn't, it didn't rise to the level of being destructive, but it obfuscated my own ability to just be that. By having that thought, I was interfering with someone's authentic ability to be in honor of another. And then I was coveting that reverence that the other person was giving. And I recognized that didn't feel good. I recognized that I had sometimes gotten out of alignment with the truth because, of course, I could just be that. I didn't have to want to be what someone else was. I could be that experience without necessarily feeling like I wanted what someone else had. There's this element of coveting what someone else has. There's this element of wanting to make people do what you want them to do. I want you to think that way about me. There's this element of, why do you need to feel any kind of way about it? Why don't you just like, oh, that's a great idea. I think I'll be that person. So all of that is obfuscated in this. So that's what I remember in my life. That's an example I can give that I think um, was not worthy of who I want to be.
Yes. That's a really good example
Yeah.
because, you know, it shows the dynamic of how sometimes we don't really acknowledge that what we're feeling is jealousy.
Right.
You know, because it was someone you aspire to be and you like that, and but the feeling associated with what you saw. But the difference between you and that experience and most people is being cognizant of that this is off. Something's not right about this feeling. Something's impure about what I feel. So like, how can people become aware of that? Like, how do we catch ourselves in a state of jealousy?
In that incident, I knew I was off. I knew that I didn't need to feel that way. I knew that I had the capacity. I had the capacity to be the experience I wanted to have, and that in that moment, I had allowed myself to think that someone else should do something for me that I could do for myself. Like I wanted the person who was feeling reverence for someone else to feel reverence for me. But that is on me, you know. So I felt the experience in that way. And of course, it's happened in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's more and deeper and stronger. But it ultimately, it's this idea of instead of leaning into it as like, oh, how wonderful that you feel this way and let me feel it too. Maybe I can also be in reverence to what you're in reverence to. And then we can both then adhere to what made us be in that state of mind. So ultimately what it boils down to is separation. So I felt separate from the experience. I felt this separateness like, oh, I'm not included. I want to be included in that exaltation. I want to be, so that was on my side of taking, I wanted that, and I was willing to suspend the person's free will to want them to do it to me, which is this idea of separateness and wanting people to do what you want them to do instead of what you have inspired them to do. I always had the opportunity to inspire everyone to do it if I could do that. But since it wasn't often in my mind to inspire them to be in reverence to me, then that didn't always work out. But should I have directed my energy in that way, I'm sure I could have gotten that outcome. It reminds me of what happens when, I often use this example, when you have a baby in arms and you're talking to the baby and you're having this contact, this electrical contact with the baby, and then you turn away and the baby feels like, oh, the light is gone. Where are you? You know what has happened? It's that feeling of separation.
Yes.
Like, I need you to come back over here and look at me. You know, and then we see that with children, and we see that with lovers, and we see that with friends. You know, come back over here and look at me.
Yeah, I literally just had that experience.
Yes.
And I'll share and elaborate.
Yes,
I'm on a phone call with someone, and I'm in a store. I'm in checkout, and I share with the person, you mind holding? I'm about to engage with some other humans at the register. Because that's my thing. I want to acknowledge them,
Right.
the human, right? And so I'm having such a rich conversation about kombucha and the deliciousness and all the wonderful benefits. And the person on the other end, when I came back to the phone, and I felt their jealousy. Oh, you're having really good conversation with these people. Oh, you're deeply connecting with them. I'm like, how deeply can I connect about kombucha? Well, I guess, because we were taking it there. But I could feel what you were saying, the idea of my face and attention going elsewhere and the other person feeling it, but like this envy or jealousy of not having it. You know, so like you just shared that in your experience, you recognize that, okay, this is not right, this is off. I don't think that most people recognize it. But like, what is it that stops us from recognizing it? Is it just the separation, that part of us that's operating as separate, or are there other aspects that kind of limit us from snapping into, well, what I'm doing is just not right for me or the other person?
I think the fact that there was always the opportunity. What we are promised is opportunity. There was always the opportunity for them to say, "Yeah, I love kombucha too." When you got back to the phone, that was so exciting to hear you talk about it. I love kombucha. You know, my favorite flavor is so and so and so and so, and so then they can then engage you. They can then have the richness of the experience with you that you're willing to have, because you've just proven it by having it.
So I think this person was super jealous because they had never had kombucha. And they're like, oh, I don't feel connected to this. And it was all the things you were saying earlier.
Yeah, so what the reality is that we all feel the drop. You know, when I'm looking at you and I'm like, you just look really great today. You're lovely. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're talking to me. I'm the cashier. People don't usually talk to me. When we feel all the things that I'm emoting now, and then we feel like, why is he talking to her? I'm on the phone. We can all feel that.
Yes.
I mean, the cashier could feel it. You could feel it. But we may be distracted by all of the other things. But we can certainly teach ourselves to be cognizant of what is current in our experience. And you felt it as soon as you went back to the phone. You didn't just feel it, she verbalized it. She wanted to punish you for having talked to someone else in a warm fashion. Like, you're only to talk to me like that. You know, with forgetting that whenever anyone calls someone else, they're already doing something. They're already engaged in sleeping, looking out the window. Maybe they're working, maybe they're involved in another conversation. And then this idea that I have moved into your space, I'm on your phone, now all things must be me. Is that a reasonable request?
I'm going to say D, no. Unreasonable. Final answer.
So what needs to happen, there has to be this level of respect for the person calling, which is ultimately respect for self. Ultimately, you call someone else and you're mad that they're busy doing something, that they're actually living their lives and having an experience of the day-to-day of what life is. And you're angry with them because they haven't stopped everything they've done to fully, give you their full attention. Whose issue is that? Why do you have that expectation? Do you think the person is just waiting all day for you to call so that engagement can take place? Is that a reasonable request? Is it that when you hear someone having an enjoyable experience, when you call because you were lonely and depressed, and they're having an enjoyable experience, that now that's even more irritating?
Message. So this takes us back a little bit, because you're saying that the person is essentially feeling as if they are not able to create a certain experience within themselves, and they're codependent upon the other to give them the thing that they feel like they can't give themselves.
Essentially, the reality is that the finger always points back to self. The person, when I was feeling that instance of wanting the reverence or the jealousy, that was me having that experience. Mm-hmm. It didn't have anything to do with what anyone else was doing, but I overlaid it. Mm. And then my frequency dropped. And when my frequency dropped, I noticed it, and I thought, oh, this doesn't feel like where I like to live. I like to live above this. Let me stop doing that.
See, so that right there, I think that's a really good indicator. It makes me think about the Ho'oponopono idea, where like peace is where we're ideally to exist. Right. And anytime we're off, Houston, we have a problem, right? To self. And some type of cognizance or self-awareness of, what I'm feeling, this is not the truth of where I want to be. let me do something about that. Can you speak a little on this?
And that is absolutely the situation. Everything is us. The separation we feel between our experience of happiness and glory and our experience of being valued is us. And then we then internalize that and reflect it out so that our experience comes back to us. So it is always our worldview that we are overlaying on any situation.
Yeah.
Always. It is always that. We create our own reality. We're making all of this up. So we make it up from what we're made of.
So is the solution just make up something new?
The solution is make yourself have another experience. You know, bring yourself, giggle, bring yourself into happiness, be lighthearted, be light with yourself, heal the separation within self for whatever has happened in your past.
This is so cool because in one of our phone calls earlier, we had a call for the truth card pull.
Yes.
And the theme was consciousness.
Yes.
And the idea or the maxim was the future is constantly changing potentialities exponentially based on what is being thought. So
absolutely.
I can see the truth of what you're saying. We think something differently because what I see happening is what's reflected from the internalization of our thinking is literally our thinking.
Yes.
Like just think something different, then you start feeling different. And then, what's broadcast is different. And then, our actions are different, our engagement. Like I see it sounds so simple.
And it actually is, but affirmations, listening to quotes, listening to high vibrational material, all of that changes the dynamic. It changes the way the room feels. It changes the way your cells and molecules and atoms work in the body.
Yes.
They hear you too.
Yes.
You separate yourself from the clarity of the whole body functioning perfectly when you separate yourself from the outer experience. It does sound simple, but it requires you wanting to do it. It requires you recognizing that I don't feel good. I think I'm depressed. I think that if I spend 5 minutes a day, engaging with life, walking barefoot, or looking at beautiful flowers, I think something could happen. This is what we're needing to do to close the gates of separation between us and everything else in creation. Because jealousy is just another expression of separation from self. Be-Bration. We are a universal remedy of support, an ally infused with positive frequencies and biophotonic light particles intended to return one to the greater whole of one's organic nature. Within our layered structure exists an opportunity for metamorphosis, prompting divine healing energies of light to awaken your original composition, that which has been irritated by inorganic substances through mental, emotional, and physical material. We are navigators, those who operate by way of your conscious thought and directive, exponentially moving to the physical areas of stuck emotion within the body that are in need of restoration. When engaged with us, we identify and mirror the called upon frequencies of lower vibratory notion for it to see itself in transmutation, while awakening that which is dormant to shift into the rectification of optimum balance and functionality. Also, it is true, and most of us know, we have relatives who are jealous and resentful. Yes.
I wanted to ask you about that.
Yes.
Parent-child dynamic.
It's all of it. It's that these kinds of strong biological markers are in our DNA. And they do flare up when we give them room and space. So I'm no different than anyone else. I have lots of relatives that are resentful and jealous and out of order, but I have decided to not die from the things that are killing them. So I have decided that I will pay attention to what I think, and I'll change my thought to a thought that's more supportive of life. So that's what I'm recommending. It's like, bring yourself into something that supports life more. Know that whatever it is you're looking at that makes you feel like you're going to be missing out, that you're not going to get it, that if somebody else has what you don't have, that you deserve what they have, then do it. Get it. Move in that direction. Hating somebody for having it is not the path to get it. Yeah. It's not the path. Making everyone, contaminating a room with your discontent and dissidence with their joy is not the way to get it. And it all is internal. And yes, much of this comes through the lineage.
This is making me think of something you said earlier. It's not that everyone is equal, but it is that everyone has equal opportunity in terms of creative capacity to pull forth an experience.
Yeah, we're not all mentally the same. Some people are, their cognitive powers are greater than others. We all have the power to think the thought we want to think.
Yeah, we got minds, so we can think, connected to the all, so we can pull things.
Yeah, we can say, I'm calling for the highest possible vibration in this moment because I feel myself slipping. You've got the capacity to do that, even if you're cognitively diminished. You know, this idea of you have the power to make yourself feel better by thinking a better thought about yourself. And in thinking that thought, you're thinking of your other self. Your other self is all the rest of humanity and all the rest of what has been created. That's all your other self. So when you are willing to think the thought, then you encourage and support all of life. So it's not as if you're just taking care of you when you think a positive thought. You're taking care of all of us. And it's the same thing when you don't think a positive thought. You're contaminating the bucket. You know, you're throwing stuff in the water that shouldn't be in there.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a very interesting dynamic. I think a lot of people have family issues with aunts, uncles, mothers, fathers, you know, sisters, brothers. And it is very, very much a hardship on humanity that exists. But if we would just repel the thought with a higher frequency.
I want to share a perspective, and maybe we can get a solution with this. So the individual who is confronted with jealousy, sometimes people have had wonderful things that would happen to them. And they want to share it with family, maybe friends, but family in this case. And you're like, dang, I can't share with them because they're going to be jealous. They're going to hate me. They already do.
Yes.
Like, how does a person reconcile being in that space?
You know, it's this is something that comes up often with my clients, where there's like, I can't tell my wife that, you know, I signed that new deal. I can't tell my family because then they'll want me to pay their rent.
You got money now?
I need a new car.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people don't have the pleasure of being able to share.
Yeah.
And it's a real thing. And the outcome is real. Like, they already see what happens 3 steps down the road.
Yes.
So, and often this is a great burden for people to carry, that, you know, I can't really share it because my people. I encourage you, find you some new people. Find you some people who support you, you know, and allow, you know, don't give ammunition to somebody who's going to shoot you. Don't do that. If somebody walks up to you with a stick and hits you with it, take the stick away. Don't stand there and just get hit with the stick. Don't give the person ammunition to shoot you. Look for the person who will be supportive in your life. Make it a point in your life to find those who are in the right harmony and want to see you be successful. And then the rest of it takes care of itself.
This is making me think of so many different things of what plays out in a dynamic like that. Like, one, accepting who and where the person is. Like, look, my family, this friend, or this person, they're not going to like this good news.
And let me say too that you say that because people say that who have had lots of experience with that, where they have all their lives went and said, guess what happened?
And this is my point exactly. And this is hence the acceptance, because we sometimes, and I know this has been my experience, where I've suffered where the jealousy, but I'd still try to share, even though I know the last several
How'd that work out
times
for you?
suffering until I accepted,
Yes.
this is really the reality. Let me find someone else. Maybe you know what? Let me get this mirror. Hey, T, you know what you did today? What? You did something great. Wonderful. Right. But I'm gonna say this: we can't expect other people to do for us what we want to do for ourselves. So I think some honoring self is
honor
one part of
yourself,
it.
and let the honor that you honor yourself reflect out and bring to you people who are willing to honor you.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, there's some, because we can create this reality, create it better.
See, so this was one of the next things I wanted to ask you, because we've been working with this idea of imagination and calling forth new realities. Would you speak on that? Because you're like, hey, get you some new people. And I feel like that might require that mental part again.
Well, it's all about manifestation. The thing that we need to understand is we are the crystal. Our brain has crystal in it. Our bone has crystal in it. Our blood has crystal in it. We are the original carbon-based crystal, and that we can manifest anything we want because we're vibrating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as long as we are alive. As long as we have disturbances in the force, we're going to create circumstances where someone stands in front of us and it feels like we're being attacked or being hit with a stick. Once we get ourselves in check and we are loving ourselves and we're willing to give ourselves the respect, then we will reflect out that, and that's what will be attracted back to us. But it may take some time because we also have the DNA of our lineage, you know, to work our way through that. But the opportunity for us to create a dynamic where we are, at the very least, respected, given honor. Just what we say, honor, respect, and gratitude.
Yes.
You know, at the very least that happens, where you're not walking away feeling like, oh, I should never have told them anything. You know, I should have kept it to myself. I'd let them see it on the news.
Right? Read about me.
Yeah. Instead of, you don't have to really have that experience if you are willing to give yourself, if you can be solid through your own understandings of give yourself what you need. Be willing to work with yourself, to learn, to do, to have. You know, be willing to do the work that's necessary. There's discipline in not doing what our DNA has done. It requires us holding the line with ourselves, like, nope, don't do that. Mm-hmm. We have to discipline ourselves. Like, you need to be on a fast of not hating yourself. Stop talking to yourself in the mirror like that. Where we think it's okay to look in the mirror and say, what is wrong with your hair? We think it's okay to look in the mirror and say, your ears are just too big. We think that it's, you know, it's okay to talk to ourselves that way, but we wouldn't speak to a dog that way. We wouldn't say, what's wrong with your tail?
Why is wagging like that? Make it stop.
We need to give ourselves a little bit of adoration. Like, you know, you're looking pretty good considering what you've been through.
Right.
You still standing, you can still get around. You know, after all that you've been through. You know, so we give ourselves that and then build from there. Once we do that, it will reflect out, and what, at the very least, what is dissonant won't come into your sphere.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that nobody will ever think such a thought again, but you don't have, it won't be standing in front of you going like that. Yeah. You know, I don't like you. I don't like nothing about you.
So there's so many gems that you've dropped, from imagining a new reality,
yes.
the power of positive self-talk, reinforcing that in our environment, whether it's playing audios, talking to yourself in the mirror.
All of that, all of the above.
And it's so empowering. It creates sovereignty, but it does allow for greater connectivity
Yes.
as well with others, to like appreciate others, because you're appreciating yourself. This is like reality creation, and you're getting more of what you want.
One of the best techniques is being in admiration of another. You want people to admire you. I see somebody like, you are just beautiful. What a beautiful girl you are. What a beautiful young man you are. What a beautiful baby this is. Because I'm looking for beauty. So maybe beauty will come my way.
Yes.
Like that's one of the best tools. Oh, you are so intelligent. I love intelligence. I love seeing intelligent people. What you do, the way you're dressed is intelligent. The car you drive, you looking for intelligence, that's how you give it.
That's interesting. It's making me think about those principles of you have to give to receive. You got to spend money to make money. You got to put that out there to get it.
Absolutely. It's so important that you invest in what it is you want to see. What do you want to see? Is all of your investment in swiping to the left? Have you invested years and months and hours in just swiping and seeing what other people are doing? Where have you benefited? Where have you gained? Where have you disciplined yourself? Where have you gained self-esteem? It's like it is self.
Yes,
esteem.
This is just speaking to so many different things, and I think we can go in a lot of different directions.
Yes, I think this has been good. Did you have any?
Yeah, just some final thoughts, because I'm having very introspective and transcendental thoughts right now, because I'm thinking, again, the imagination and how we pull in certain realities, and we all have this common experience of jealousy and being on both sides, whether we projected it or on the receiving end. And I'm thinking to myself, whose imagination am I living in right now?
Yes.
Where we're jealous of each other, of our other selves, within this idea of oneness. And it does inspire me. You know what? I want to imagine something different. Just like you say, imagine something different so you don't have the jealous person dancing in your reality.
Yeah, it's also we have all been cultivated into a world that does not support our exaltation.
Yeah.
This world is run by what we'll call anti-life forces. Us loving each other and being one makes us win. We become victorious. Think of it that way, that we win if we love each other. We win if we see the beauty in one another. We win if we want to support each other. We win when we are happy that one of us made it. We win. We win this entire experience of anti-life, cultivating us to separate us from each other, from our families, from nature, from what is wealth. The wealth is in being able to give the glory to another and become glorious because you gave glory. That's really the wealth right there. So would you pull a card for our session today on the podcast? Our topic was jealousy, and you will pull a card. What is your question for today?
I'm asking, to see the truth we must understand regarding jealousy.
All righty. So we're going to pull the call for truth cards and see what maxim and what color and what platonic solid and what number is on the card. These are layered, have a lot of information on them.
The theme is very simple. The theme is truth. The way will be made for us if we call for the truth.
And so the truth is that we are one. So when we impose something that's not appropriate, we are also one. In doing that, now we've contaminated the other aspect of ourselves. When we elevate another, we are one, and we're all in elevation. And this is a lesson that humanity has not yet learned. And hopefully this will be something eye-opening for everyone. We thank you all for joining us. We hope you'll come back and be with us again. We'd like to leave you with Inlakesh, which is oneness, Veritas, which is truth, with honor, respect, and gratitude. Thank you.